Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. This is Attorney Farrah with Giselle from Kazi Law Offices. We have an immigration and estate planning law firm in Chicago, but we have clients from all over the country and all over the world. And we are here to answer some immigration questions for you.
Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Feliz viernes. Estamos aquí con la abogada Farrah de las oficinas legales Kazi Law. Tenemos una oficina legal de inmigración y de estatus patrimonial. Estamos localizados aquí en Chicago, pero tenemos clientes en todos los Estados Unidos y en todo el mundo.
So, I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about marriage because that is a hot topic now that we have had so many issues with borders closing and embassies closing.
Vamos a hablar un poco sobre el matrimonio, porque eso es algo muy importante en estos momentos, más porque las embajadas están cerrándose y también la entrada y salida están restringidas en estos momentos.
So we've had quite a few clients, and it's always really upsetting to see, but they are separated from their spouse or from their fiance because of COVID and the borders closing and embassies closing. And so I thought, let me give you a few guidelines on what is happening and what you can do to reunite your family.
Ok, so tenemos muchos clientes que en estos momentos están separados de sus esposas, esposos, prometidos o prometidas, no solamente por el COVID, sino porque las embajadas están cerradas, porque la entrada y salida están restringidas, y queríamos estar aquí un momento para explicarles qué se puede hacer.
Okay, so I'm thinking about a few specific clients that I have, and even so, just today, I was talking to somebody who wants to get married, and the fiance is sitting in Mexico, and he's over here, and he wants to know how he can bring her over. Normally, the process would be that you either apply for what is a K-1, which is a fiance visa, or you get married and then apply for a spousal visa.
So, normalmente, como hoy tuvimos un cliente que nos preguntó, él quiere traer a su prometida para acá. Y normalmente el proceso es que aplicamos para lo que viene siendo una visa K1, que viene siendo para prometidos o prometidas.
And that's still the process. So what I would recommend is that you decide whether you wanted to do the fiance route or you want to do the spousal route. Now, what's the difference between the two? If you were to do a K-1 visa, what you do is you sponsor your significant other and you have him or her come to the United States. And from the date of their entry, they have 90 days then to get married to you.
Ok, so ¿cuál es la diferencia entre traer a tu prometido con la K1 o traer a tu pareja ya casado con una visa para esposos? So, con una visa para prometidos o prometidas, lo que pasa es del momento que ellos entran al país, ellos tienen 90 días para casarse.
So it's like that TV show 90 Day Fiancé that everyone's obsessed with. You have to get married within that amount of time in order for your visa to be valid and for you to go on to the next step.
So, es mucho como este show que a muchas personas les gusta, que son prometidos de 90 días. Tienen los 90 días para casarse y para empezar el próximo paso de su proceso.
And okay, so let's say that you go through that process, you get married, then what's the step? Then you're going to file for essentially your green card. And that's going to be a conditional green card, usually available for 2 years. As long as you remain married and you're still in good standing and still able to do an interview with your officer, then you should be okay to remove those conditions.
So, después de que los 90 días, después de que se casen, ¿cuál es el siguiente paso? El siguiente paso es ajustar su estatus, que viene siendo su tarjeta verde, que es una tarjeta verde condicional por 2 años. Después de estos 2 años, quitas las condiciones, vas a la entrevista con tu oficial, comprobando que ustedes siguen casados, que están bien en su matrimonio.
And I would go into the interview with you and I would prep you before the interview so you know exactly what kind of questions that they are going to ask.
So, durante esta entrevista, la abogada iría con ustedes. La abogada los prepararía antes de la entrevista para que ustedes sepan qué preguntas van a ver.
Right. So let's say that you go through all of that, right? But now you've got a few cases in which, trouble happened in the first newlywed years of your marriage. And a lot of times people feel like they have to stay in that marriage because they are afraid that their conditional green card will not then be approved. And that is not simply the case. There are other options available for you.
So, hay muchas personas que en los primeros años del matrimonio no son los más perfectos, los más buenos, y ellos piensan que se tienen que quedar con su pareja para que les den esta tarjeta verde condicional, y eso no es el caso.
If there's anything that you get in my videos over and over again, is that you never have to stay in an undesirable situation or in a cycle. There's always another option. So do not think that you have no other resources available for you.
De verdad, si es una cosa que agarran de estos videos, es que no se tienen que quedar en una situación donde no se sienten cómodos o se sienten en peligro. Esta no es algo que tienen que hacer. Por favor, si es algo que tienen, salgan de eso. Hay otras maneras que le podemos ayudar.
Now, let's say that you're already married, and for whatever reasons or different circumstances or whatever, your spouse is sitting in another country and you're sitting over here. And we have this quite a bit with our clients that are from Central America, as well as clients that are in Pakistan, India, Middle East, where we have spouses and children who have become separated essentially because of COVID and some of the travel bans that have taken place.
So, hay que decir que ustedes ya están casados, tu esposa o esposo y hijos están en otro país, puede ser en Centroamérica, en Pakistán, en Egipto, en cualquier otro lugar, y están separados no solamente por el COVID, sino por las restricciones que han puesto.
So what we do with that is right now it's a little bit difficult because the embassies for the most part are closed. So you have to wait until those embassies are open so that they can reschedule or schedule your interviews.
En estos momentos es un poco difícil hacer esto, porque tenemos que esperar hasta que las embajadas estén abiertas y den las entrevistas para estas personas.
We also have the added restriction that has just been announced that USCIS has announced that they will be letting go 70% of their employees starting August 3rd, which of course means that processing times are going to be even longer and more delayed.
So, además de esto, el estatus de inmigración ha dicho que en agosto va a dejar ir al 70% de sus empleados, que quiere decir que las aplicaciones se van a tardar más para procesar.
For this reason, I'm going to be repeating over and over again, if you have an immigration question or an application that you really need to get in and you've just been procrastinating about, or you're worried about money, or you just think that, oh, I'm going to wait until things get better, please, please, please do not delay. Call our office so that we can get these applications filed before August 3rd so that it doesn't create more processing delays for you.
De verdad, si ustedes tienen alguna pregunta de migración o tienen una aplicación que no han puesto porque no han tenido tiempo o porque quieren esperar hasta que esto mejore, por favor, se lo recomendamos. Háganlo lo antes posible, antes de que esto pase y su aplicación se tome más tiempo en procesar.
And I can't even stress this enough because, we've already got processing delays. We've got delays because of COVID, and we've got delays because offices are shut down. We have delays because the embassies are shut down. And now on top of that, we're going to have delays because people are being let go at the immigration services. So we have this window right now between now and the end of July for us to try to file as much as possible and as quickly as possible.
So, no solamente hemos tenido retrasos por el COVID, porque las oficinas estuvieron cerradas, por todo esto. Ahora lo que queremos es meter más aplicaciones de entre estos momentos al final de julio, para que su aplicación no se retrase más.
Okay, so let me go back to the spouses. What can you do? Right now, what the biggest thing that we're doing is for emergency situations, we're trying to get congressional support. We're also trying to get support that is within the NVC itself. So if you have somebody that's stuck and it is an emergency situation, and an emergency situation can be defined in any way. It does not have to be something that's subjective to other people, right? So it's for your own personal needs, what you consider to be a real emergency. What we will do is we'll push it forward. We have a couple of numbers and a couple of contacts that we would contact immediately to try to see what we can do to push your case forward and get it to the highest priority as soon as possible.
So, ahorita lo que estamos haciendo con estos casos en específico es que estamos agarrando ayuda congresional para muchos de nuestros casos, de personas que están separadas de su familia en otro país. También lo que estamos haciendo, tenemos varios números de lo que viene siendo NVC, que es el centro de visas, que nos pueden ayudar para empujar su caso a llegar al nivel más alto posible.
Okay, now let's say that you have a bad relationship, and we go back to that situation. Another question that we usually have is, I got married, I came in on a fiance, I did the 90-day thing, I'm married, but I just don't think that we're going to make it the whole 2 years that we need to. Do I have to stick with him? Do I have to stick with her? Or is there another option available to me?
So, la pregunta que muchos nos hacen es, me casé después, antes de los 90 días, estamos casados, pero no creo que vayamos a durar estos 2 años para para la tarjeta verde condicional. ¿Qué puedo hacer? ¿Me tengo que quedar con ella o él?
And the magic word for that is VAWA, right? So if you have a problem within your marriage that would qualify for VAWA, and again, that can be cruelty, insults, derision, just a general disrespect, controlling behavior, any of those things, then you do not need to wait those 2 years miserably. You have another option for you to adjust.
La palabra mágica para esto es el bagua. De verdad, si lo insultan, lo tratan o la tratan mal, o hay algún problema en su matrimonio y usted no quiere quedarse con él o ella, usted puede aplicar para lo que viene siendo el VAWA.
Okay, so if you do that, you're not dependent on that spouse anymore. You can do it completely independently. You'll get a work permit within 3 to 6 months. You'll get your adjustment between 1 to 2 years, and you will live free of any sort of stress or tension that is associated with that spouse.
So, con este VAWA lo que usted hace es que está haciendo este proceso independientemente. No tiene que depender de su pareja para que le ayuden o para que le digan que sí le van a ayudar. Con este proceso lo que hacemos es de 3 a 6 meses después de meter su aplicación, puede recibir su permiso de trabajo y de 1 año a 2 años puede ajustar su estatus.
So again, I talk about it all the time because it's not well known. A lot of places, a lot of times clients come into our office and they say, oh, if I would have gone to 1 or 2 or 3 lawyers and they've all told me I have absolutely no options and I either have to stick it out or I just get divorced and live undocumented. And that is not the case.
VAWA es algo que muchas personas no conocen, que muchos abogados no conocen porque no se especializan. Hay muchos clientes que vienen y han ido a 1, 2, 3 abogados y le dicen que no tiene opción, que se queda con su pareja hasta que termine su proceso o que se queda indocumentado, y eso de verdad no es el caso.
Okay, what are some other questions that we sometimes get? Giselle, can you think of anything that we sometimes get that are like common questions?
So, me está preguntando que si me acuerdo de alguna de las preguntas más comunes que nos hacen los clientes, y una de las preguntas que ellos nos hacen es más los hombres. Nos preguntan, ¿el VAWA me aplica a mí o no? ¿O solamente es para la mujer?
Okay, and yes, and that's a really good question because it's very confusing, right? Because VAWA says Violence Against Women Act, so obviously you assume that it's a woman thing. And I had somebody arguing with me about this and saying, no, it says women in the title, so it can't be for me. And I had to explain to him that no, it's still for men. So I don't know why they named it that. I guess it just sounds good, but VAWA definitely applies to men. And a good majority of our clients are males who have been in, bad, abusive, controlling relationships.
So, ella lo que nos explica es que sí, que el VAWA es para los hombres y para las mujeres. La ley se llama violencia contra la mujer, pero no quiere decir que los hombres no pueden aplicar.
Right. And so don't go just by the name, and don't go by what somebody else tells you either. You know, this is something that we talk about all the time, but we get so many things where somebody says mi vecina dice, or you know, my aunt told me this, or what. Pay attention to what we are telling you in terms of um, proper way of going about getting your legal advice. You know, obviously we keep telling you call our office, but don't just call our office. Do your research properly so that you're not relying on just these third parties that are telling you little tidbits of information that may or may not be correct.
Ok, so, por favor, hagan su que ustedes sepan lo que están haciendo, no porque la vecina le dijo, porque la tía le dijo que el vecino le dijo. Hable a nuestra oficina o llame a otra oficina, póngase a hacer un poco de escarbamiento en el internet para ver lo que usted puede hacer.
But call our office because we will set you on the right path. We'll let you know exactly what you need to do, and we'll do our very best to help you.
Llame a nuestra oficina, el número 630-504-0648. Nosotros le ayudaremos a ver cuál es su mejor opción y no solamente le ayudaremos a ver qué es su mejor opción, pero le enseñaremos paso a paso cómo vamos a lograr que usted obtenga un estatus.
And I'll tell you, one of the main reasons why I always do these videos is because I really want people to know their rights. I just feel, you know, I used to do these Know Your Rights seminars, and I would go into community centers, into churches, and different places and speak about Know Your Rights because I think it's so tremendously important that the more you know about the law and about your legal rights, the more power you have.
Es muy importante para nosotros que usted sepa sus derechos. Esa es una de las razones que hacemos estos videos, porque queremos que sepa sus derechos. La oficina normalmente hace muchos seminarios en iglesias, en centros comunitarios, para que todos sepan sus derechos. Si ustedes saben sus derechos, tienen más poder de que nadie los humille y que no pase algo que no debe de pasar.
And that knowledge really is power. Nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can tell you anything different because now you know where you stand and what rights you have.
El poder de saber, de verdad es algo increíble, porque si usted sabe sus derechos, nadie se los puede quitar.
Okay, so I had a question recently that I wanted to address as well, and that was from a woman who wanted to know. She said, if I have a child who has autism or special needs of some sort, can that allow me to adjust my status?
So, tuvimos una pregunta de una persona que nos dijo, yo tengo un niño que tiene autismo, ¿eso me puede ayudar a ajustar mi estatus?
And the answer is unfortunately no. That is not a direct way for you to adjust your status. However, there are some other options that you might be able to use with that situation that you have.
Desafortunadamente, la respuesta es no, pero puede haber alguna otra cosa que podamos hacer por ustedes.
So first of all, if you are in removal proceedings, for example, you can do something called a 42B or 42A to try to cancel that removal based on your sick or special needs child.
Una de las cosas que se puede hacer es, si usted ya está en proceso de deportación, lo que se puede hacer es que podemos meter lo que viene siendo la 42A o B para remover esa deportación.
The other thing that you can do is a hardship waiver, and the hardship would have to show that it's a hardship for the U.S. citizen, spouse, or parent. And you could also use the child in there as well to show that if you were to be removed from this country, it would create a hardship upon them.
La otra cosa que podemos hacer es meter lo que viene siendo una declaración de que esto sería un cargo para la otra persona, puede ser su esposo, esposa o hijo mayor que es ciudadano estadounidense, y podemos usar el niño o niña que esté enfermo.
And then the last option, one that I actually really like using, is to use our senators and our congressional support. So if we have a compelling case, we can certainly use our senators to help us to reunite a family.
So, la otra cosa que podemos hacer y que nuestra oficina nos gusta hacer mucho es usar nuestros senadores o representantes para tratar de reunificar estas familias.
So if you have a situation like that, again, call our office 630-504-0648 and we'll see if there's something that we can do to help you so that you can continue on your path to adjustments.
Si usted tiene alguna situación como la que hemos describido, por favor llame a nuestra oficina el número 630-504-0648 para ver qué podemos hacer para ayudarle.
Okay. Lastly, I think I've gotten a whole bunch of questions basically about back to weddings and wedding plans, right? And some people have been wanting to do weddings despite the ban and despite the embassies closing, and so they're actually doing virtual weddings, which is now a thing, right? So the two partners get onto these computer screens, and then there's a imam or a minister or a priest, and they get married, and then they apply for a spousal visa accordingly.
So, una cosa que nos han preguntado mucho en estos días es, ¿qué podemos hacer sobre si nos vamos a casar? Ahora lo que están haciendo son matrimonios virtuales. Lo que pasa es que las dos personas a la pareja están viéndose sobre un video y traen al padre, al pastor o a la persona que los vaya a casar para hacer esta boda por videollamada.
So, like I say, I mean, the thing that I always like about humans is that we're very resourceful. You know, you throw something at us and then we find a solution. And so everyone has found solutions to really tough problems. And I think that's the takeaway message all the time is that there are ways to get this done and we can do it all together.
So, esto es algo que de verdad, cuando tenemos algún problema, nosotros como humanos tenemos manera de asombrar y que no dejen que estos problemas nos paren de hacer lo que queremos hacer. Es una manera ingeniosa de casarse.
So if you have a family member who's stuck abroad, or you need to get married and your wedding plans have been canceled, now you're trying to figure this out, or you're in a difficult marriage and you don't know if you should stay in that marriage because of whatever reason, right? And you're worried about your immigration status, all of those things can be fixed. Call our office and we will guide you in the proper way to take care of that.
Si usted tiene familiares en otro país que no pueden entrar a los Estados Unidos por alguna manera, por favor llame a nuestra oficina. Si sus planes de matrimonio no están funcionando por lo que está pasando en estos momentos, por el COVID, por las fronteras que están cerradas, las embajadas, llame a nuestra oficina, le podemos ayudar. Si usted está en un matrimonio que no está feliz, pero está allí porque quiere ajustar su estatus, llámenos, tenemos otras opciones para usted. Como le digo, el número es 630-504-0648.
And I'm just going to end a little bit, just a recap of what's happened in this week. This has been a very, very long week because we've had one major news after another and changes within the legal system consistently. There have been changes in the asylum process, changes in work permit processing, and now changes in trying to get people out of detention centers as well.
Vamos a terminar este video con un poco de lo que ha pasado en esta semana que ha afectado al sistema y al proceso inmigratorio. Ha cambiado cómo obtener y la manera de obtener permisos de trabajo, cómo obtener y procesar un caso de asilo, cómo sacar a un familiar o conocido de un centro de detención.
So I want to make sure that people don't panic and you don't get so concerned about it and you think that you have no options because that, again, is not true. Please, please, please call our office if you have questions about any of the things that have happened this week because we can guide you. We are willing to talk to you. We will try to figure out a solution for you without you losing hope.
No, por favor, no entren en pánico. Hay maneras de poderle ayudar. Llame a nuestra oficina para ver qué podemos hacer por ustedes. No entren en pánico otra vez, por favor. Nosotros nos encantaría hablar con ustedes para ver qué se puede hacer por su caso. Nuestro número otra vez es 630-504-0648.
Okay, I would then tell you to go back, look at all of our videos, look at all of our posts. We've been posting regularly, trying to keep you as informed and up to date as possible on all the different changes that are happening. If you still have questions, call us. The number is down below, 630-504-0648.
Por favor, vayan a ver nuestros otros videos. Allí les damos más información sobre todo lo que ha pasado, sobre opciones que pueden tener. Por favor, llamen. Nuestro número está aquí abajo. Es el 630-504-0648.
Okay, adios, and have a wonderful weekend.
Hasta la próxima y tenga una linda fin de semana.
See you all on Monday.
Hasta luego, hasta el lunes.